ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Kent Holste Podcast right here on KentHolstePodcast.com and as well as the YouTube channel. I'm so glad you decided to click that link today, as we are going to be discussing something that I felt was necessary to bring up today, and that's not giving up hope. I feel like a lot of times in life, there's situations that become a little intense. They become hard, and sometimes we know how to handle, to push through, and then sometimes we don't. And I feel like too many people in the world today give up hope. They don't feel like they have the ability to. They feel like they have been pushed around or even brought down so much and stomped on that they don't have the ability to put up a good fight. And so not giving up hope is something that I feel is very, very important. I think back to all the times that I got picked on as a kid. I think about all the times that my past relationships that didn't go the way I expected they would go turned out, and how difficult they were, and how hard it was to push through those moments. You know, I could have very well given up on a lot of things in my life. I could have given up on my dream to become a sportscaster. I could have given up my dream to be on the radio. I could have given up my dream to be a musician with the drums. But even though I don't play the drums now, it doesn't mean that dream is gone or that it's stopped. It's just on hold. And I think a lot of the things that we give up on, we don't put it enough on hold. We don't see if we can at least try to put a reset on what's going on in our life, to rebuild and to become strong again. So maybe those things that we want in our life can become true. So how many incidents in your life have you given up on? How many things do you look back on and go, I never should have given up so easily? Maybe it's that job that you wanted so badly, but instead of fighting for it, you just gave up. Maybe it's within your relationship. Instead of taking the proper steps to work things out, you just gave in and gave up. So that's a little bit of what we're going to touch base on today on today's podcast. And hopefully you can join in the conversation and comment in the comment spot on this video on the YouTube channel and get involved. You know, maybe there's something that you're going to say because of an experience that you went through where you thought about giving up, but you talk about the tools or the steps that you made to continue forward in a positive way. You know, talk about that. Or maybe you could talk about the times where you did give up and the thoughts that you had after the fact, the regrets, and how did that affect your life going forward by giving up. We're going to talk all about that, so keep listening in here as we just got started here on the topic of not giving up hope. Are you looking for a positive change in your life? Well, I encourage you to go to the Kent Holste Podcast website, where there's a link called Positive Lifestyles by Holste. There, you can find products from Q Sciences and Herbalife. Products such as skincare, weight loss, and also products to help you get a good night's rest, pain relief, and so much more. Check it out today. It's on the Kent Holste Podcast website at www.kentholstepodcast.com/positive lifestyles by Holste. So I talked a little bit about the example of when I was a kid and giving up. You know, there was plenty of times where relationships and friendships ended abruptly, or something happened to where maybe it was something that I did, or maybe it was just a blindside. And the biggest thing about me is I never really gave up on trying to be happy. You know, my parents never got it. You know, I would date someone in high school, and you know, the relationship would end, and then it wouldn't be too long after I would be with somebody else, or I would be back with that person. You know, I just never thought that giving up was something worth even considering in some cases. But there was some things that I did give up on. And that was my ability to believe in myself, that I could push myself just a little bit harder when it came to doing my schoolwork. You know, I gave up really easily on a lot of things. And you know, even to this day with my daughter, when it comes to doing homework, I'll often remind her of my life experience with being in school and not taking school seriously, because I would just give up. I hated homework. I hated studying because it was difficult for me to, number one, focus because of ADHD and all that stuff, and being hyper. And, you know, I just didn't like to read. I couldn't stay focused long enough to keep myself from, you know, getting fully involved into it. But that would come later on in life now. That now sometimes I like to pick up a book and read for a little bit and do that type of stuff. But as far as, you know, back then, I just also didn't see the point. You know, I was very negative. And I think a lot of that negativity came from, you know, all the things that happened with how I was treated by my peers, or, you know, just, you know, it sometimes confuses me how I live so negatively and let myself be in that mood when I was raised so perfectly. Like, I know I wasn't the perfect child by any means, but they never gave up on me. They did whatever they could to teach me life lessons, no matter how hard they had to push it and try to engrave it into my mind. But, you know, it's unfortunate that those things that they taught me didn't kick in until I was in my late 20s. Maybe even on some things until my early 30s. It's sad. But just because that played out that way doesn't mean I just give up now. I'm still young. There's plenty of time for me to become stronger with knowledge and all that. And that's how we should view our lives, right? is look at it from the point of view is that, life may be short, but it's never too late to not give in, to keep pushing. I always say that your actions control your fate. You are in control of setting your own destiny. And giving up hope is not part of that. As much as you want to deny it and be like, no one knows what I've been through. No one can understand the pain and the heartache that I have to endure. But that's not true. There is plenty of people that know what you've been through, that can relate. So giving up because of that fact of that negativity in your mind telling you that it's not possible and that it's not true is not helping yourself. You're not going to go far. And I guess I could bring up that example that I always like to use as far as that revolving circle, that carousel. Giving up hope just makes you continue going in circles or staying in one spot. It's hard to go far when you don't have that mindset where you need to be, where you can actually look at yourself and believe in yourself and have the confidence to push forward. My son, Luke, said it perfectly. I was having a bad day. I felt like giving up because of an issue that I was dealing with. It's hard to find a job these days. It's hard to find a job that can support yourself so you can still live. And I'm going through that right now myself. I make enough to pay the bills, but when it comes to other things that I have a responsibility for, it's just I'm coming up short. And that doesn't mean I quit. I'm still trying. I'm still trying to do the best that I can, but there's only so much that I can do without making things difficult for me to be happy, to be able to wake up and not be fully exhausted, because I already am. I got some health stuff that I'm dealing with that is currently preventing me from being at 100%, and until I can afford to pay for some surgery and all that, I'm pretty much limited. And so my energy is down compared to what I used to. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's amazing. When I got out of high school, I could easily work 3 jobs. And now it's like I can barely work 6 hours and not feel like death. Like I'm completely gone. And I've talked about the car accident that I was in. I had back surgery in 2006 on my Alpha 5 disc, and they just cleaned it up. But it just seems like if I overdo just the slightest of lifting now, my back goes out, and I'm out of work literally for the last time it went out. I was out for about 3 months. There was one time it went out, I was out of work for 6 months because it was that bad. Now, there was one time I simply just went swimming with my daughter. We were, having a good time. I was lifting her up, and, one of those things where you put their feet on your hand and you kind of connect your hands as if you're praying, and your fingers are crisscrossed, and their foot goes on your hand, and then you kind of shoot them up in the air by lifting them really fast. I got out of the swimming pool, and my body just collapsed. That's how bad my back is. And so I'm very limited. And even with that, there's times where I'm just like, man, I just feel like I don't have anything left in me. And this is added on with all the stuff on my mind about my kids, and I just let everything pile up on me. And my point is with all that bound together in this pile of of unfortunate stuff, I sometimes feel like, what is the point? What I'm not making enough money to survive. I'm doing well, but it's not enough to be comfortable, to know that if something happens, I have a backup. I'm literally living by the bare minimum. But I think we all go through that. It's like, crud. Okay. I worked that many hours. I put well over 40 hours, maybe 80 hours a week in, and I still don't have enough to pay what I need to. This sucks. And luckily, I've been able to stock up on my medication for my depression and ADHD, and most importantly, my anxiety. But right now, it's not like you need to know this, but I'm sure there's people that can relate. I'm now out of my anxiety meds. I don't have insurance. The thought is in my mind of, oh God, what am I going to do now? My anxiety is worse than anything else that I have. So how am I going to stay positive? And in that moment of weakness that we talk about sometimes, and I actually haven't talked about that in a long time, actually. I call it the moment of weakness, when we feel for that brief moment like, okay, I can't take this anymore. I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. I give up. But after I sit there for a little while and kind of calm down and gather my thoughts together, I go, I can't. If I give up now, what does that accomplish? Nothing. It's just going to make things worse. And then all those thoughts of what I should be thinking from the very start starts to roll in my mind. And I start motivating myself and I pump myself up and go, tomorrow's a new day. Start fresh. I think that's what a lot of us need to do. When we feel like giving up, it's just we need to take time to just cool down, pull ourselves back, and just take things in for a little bit. Because the moment the unexpected happens, the moment that things play out in our cards that we pick up, but we're like, man, I don't want that one. It can eat us alive. It can emotionally drain you. So sometimes it's just best to just be like, okay, I'm gonna step aside. I'm gonna pray about this and just see where God wants to take me, and just let Him have control. And I'm gonna breathe in, and I'm gonna breathe out. And that's when those thoughts come into, okay, I need to do this better. I need to just put aside the fear, put aside the anxiety, and not let that get the best of me. And I know for some people it's harder than some to be able to move fast, to think quick, to put those things that you know you need to work on into motion. Okay? And some people, it's harder to have that ability to be confident that they can move forward. They give up so fast that they start to believe that there's no other option. And that's what we need to prevent. That's what we need to get better at as a community, is believing that no matter how difficult and how trying situations can be, there's always an alternate route. Okay? Think about it. We talked about this before. Sidewalks have different routes. Highways, streets. There's always a way to get around and go a different way. Sometimes you mess up on driving and you have to go a few miles longer to turn around to get back where you need to be, or sometimes there's just an easy turn off to where you can easily get back on the right track right off the bat. That's how life is. There's so many different scenarios that are like things that we do every single day. It's just how you think about it and how you utilize it within your life. I just want to take a moment to thank you for listening to today's podcast. Hopefully there's something on today's show that you've really enjoyed. And if that's the case, please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But also do the same things on the Kent Holste Podcast website. It really makes a big difference to those who are really trying to find something inspirational to help their lives. So thank you again for listening and enjoy the rest of the podcast. So I was in this last marriage for 5 years, and there was a lot of things that were good. There was some good times. In fact, there was some amazing memories. But I think a lot of the struggles and the way that both of us treated each other, those times overshadowed those good. My parents always said 2 wrongs don't make a right. As we all know, when we say things, we say things that we don't mean, and then we go back and we regret them. I cared about my wife that I had. There were so many things that I would have done and I should have done better, but it just didn't work out. And I've had to come to terms with that. But there were so many times when I felt alone, that I wasn't being understood, that it just felt like giving up, and I did give up. I would turn my focus on possessions to replace the feelings of being happy. I refused to look at other options. I refused to listen to those voices in your mind that tell you, no, that's not the right way of doing things. Do it the right way. I didn't do it. And that's my fault. I could have very well went to a therapist early on and saved things. We'll never know if that would have worked or not, because that's neither here or there. There's a lot of things that I needed to work on personally in my life that would have made me a better husband at that time. Would have made me the person probably that I am today. But I gave up. There's no reason to. We look at the rate of divorce in our country, and the numbers are outrageous. I always looked at my grandparents' marriage. They were married for over 50 some years. I wanted something like that. I wanted a relationship like that. And I failed at that. But it doesn't mean it's over. I may not reach 50 years of marriage. I may not reach 60 years of marriage. But one day, maybe that will happen. I just have to work hard at it. I have to find healthy relationships. I have to find relationships that are going to push me to success instead of bring me down and not take me anywhere. It's all who you associate your life with. If you're surrounding yourself with positive people, your life, chances are, will go a lot farther. But if you surround yourself with people that don't encourage you, that don't give you the proper care and respect, then yeah, you're going to be restrained. If you are these people that let other people bring you down, tell you that you're not good enough, that your feelings don't matter, or, people only associate with you because they feel bad for you, or if you've been in a job and you feel overworked, underappreciated, if you go into work every day and you bust your tail and you're not getting the advancements, but somebody else on your team is taking all the credit for what you helped do. These are all situations where you just don't give up. You try to find what's causing this and how can you move forward? How can you succeed? But giving up and saying, screw those people. Forget these people for what they do to me. I'm the victim. I'm this. I'm that. In the therapeutic world, they call that playing the victim, right? There's no room to playing the victim. If you're playing the victim and constantly saying, I deserve this, I'm the one who should be feeling this and that and this, those are the wrong way of going about your problems, your situations. The right way is saying, I was wrong for what I did. I was wrong for letting myself fall into the negativity of others. And from this moment forward, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to push forward, and I'm going to have that confidence that I need to know that I am better than that. I am going to be the bigger person. I'm not going to let people bring me down and walk all over me and tell me that I'm not good enough. I'm not going to let the harsh words of critics, I'm not going to let my boss tell me that I'm not doing good enough, because I will go back in and prove that I am good enough. Your actions and the way that you react to things is the key to how your life is going to play out. And a part of that is not giving up hope. Believe in yourself. That's where thinking positive comes into play. That's where doing what you can, not what you can't, comes into play. This is your time. If you're listening and you've been feeling down and you feel like there's nowhere else to turn, that giving up is the only answer, I hope that you would take the time to sit down and reconsider. Number one, if it's so extreme of what you're feeling and you're so into your pain and your hurt and your confusion, the best thing you can do is talk to a professional. Number two, the best thing you can do is pray about it. Let God take control of your life and let God control your destiny by where you should go, by letting Him lead you. The third thing you should do is reevaluate who you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with positive people that tell you what you need to hear, not what you should not hear, that brings you down? Now, don't be confused by the positive criticism, the constructive criticism that people tend to say. Sometimes it hurts, but yet we need to hear the truth. I talked about my friend Bree before. She was very upfront. She would lay it in me hard. I didn't like it, but I needed to hear it. And yes, it would take time to admit that, but after thinking about it, she would always be right. She did that because she was a good friend, and she will always be a good friend. This is your opportunity to make the most out of your life. We are all here for a reason and a purpose that maybe not clear to us, or maybe we don't want to accept. But deep down in our mind, we know that we are better than what we feel sometimes. The best thing you can do is train your mind to believe that you are the best, that no one is better at what you do than you. Sometimes it is to have that ego that pushes you to success. You know, everybody knows I'm a big wrestling fan, and currently one of the biggest controversial but popular wrestlers in the industry today is MJF. Maxwell is a guy that is brutal on the mic, but yet he doesn't let his failure, he doesn't let any of that show, because he wants to give that perception that he is better than everybody else. His slogan is, "I'm better than you, and you know it." That may not be the right way of living your life by having that attitude, but in the reality of things, what he's doing to himself is building up his confidence so he doesn't have doubt, so he doesn't have fear. That's a lesson that we can take, isn't it? We need to believe in ourselves, because the more we believe in ourselves, there's less chances of us giving up on yourself. The hardest thing that we see people struggle with and give up is their health. We see at the beginning of every year, everybody's New Year's resolution is to lose weight, to be more healthy, to eat more healthy. But that doesn't last long, does it? They say, what, it only takes a month and a half for that stuff to kind of die out. It's because we give up. We like the fact that we can go out and get a candy bar or eat a few donuts or drink alcohol, which doesn't help. We give in. We quit. How can we stop that? If our health is so important, so we say, why don't we live it? There's so many questions. There's so many things that I talked about today about my life, the things that I've struggled with personally in my life. I think I've talked about enough things that we can kind of create a conversation. Now, keep in mind, I've said a lot of things about my past that I'm not proud of. So it's not a time for you to bash me and say, yeah, you're this and that for what you did. Trust me, I know what I did. I know the mistakes that I made. And I'm the one who has to deal with those consequences. And I'm the one who has to deal with that for the rest of my life. So when we talk about these comments, I'm talking about times that you struggled with giving up, the times that you didn't give up, and the success that came from it. How did you get there? What tools did you use? Talk about times that you experienced where you just gave in. This is a time to let people know that, yeah, we're not perfect. We do things that we regret. And we have those long-term scars because of it. But like I've said before with the scar reference, yes, those scars are always going to be there. There's no turning back. Those scars are a symbol, a reminder of what we have to try very hard not to let happen again. Just because we have scars, we fall down, we get scrapes, we get bruises, doesn't mean that we give up. It's like the old saying goes, we get up and wipe the dust off our knees and we push forward. I kind of lost track, but I was talking about my son, Luke. And I was going through a difficult time with what was going on. And he told me not to give up. I can still hear his voice say, you need to put your best foot forward. And that's something that stuck it with my mind. You know, my son plays sports. He's very talented at basketball, but most importantly, he's also very good at baseball. And this year, his baseball team apparently is not the greatest. And the thing about kids in sports is some years they have a very successful year and they do really well. And then there's years like this year where he's on a team where they struggle and they don't have very many victories, but my son never gives up. He is the guy on the team that tells everybody to keep pushing and that they're doing well, and he's never negative. Well, maybe he is sometimes. But more often, he's positive and he tries to lift others up. Wonder where he got that from. Both me and his mom are very positive about encouraging and being there for people. And so, you know, he's been raised very, very well. And fortunate for him, he has a very good stepfather that has taught him some very good lessons about life too. They don't teach that giving up is an option. They teach him to push forward. And it's clear because of what he told me. In the midst of me being in pain and me trying to hide it in my voice. This was over a phone call. It wasn't on a video. He could hear my voice and he could tell. But this is some food for thought here. If a 10-year-old boy can pick that up and he offers to step in and make an impact, why can't we do that to other people in our world? If we sense pain, if we sense that someone is down and they feel like they're giving up, where are the people that are there to build them back up, to encourage them? There needs to be more people like that. And knowing that my son has that same point of view, that being there for others and encouraging people is more of a better way to live life than to be the people that choose not to live that life. It doesn't mean that he's better than other people because he chooses to live that lifestyle. It just means he's got the right way of viewing life. And we should all have that same way of viewing life. It's a powerful thing to think about. So, what can we take from this podcast today about not giving up hope? What can we learn from our past mistakes by when we gave up? When we let other people get into our mind and say things that we didn't really know about, but also we didn't really take the time to investigate personally. We always tend to fall into others' doubts. We fall into other people's, negativity without personally going to the direct source, which would save a lot of time and energy and all that stuff. It's all if you decide to choose to live that way. It's all if you choose to live a life where you can be that inspiration. So think about that today.
Have you seen the Kent Holste Podcast website yet? Well, check it out today. It's at www.kentholstepodcast.com. It's more than just podcasts. There's interviews, blogs, news, sports talk, circle of friends, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Check it out right now. It's at www.kentholstepodcast.com.
You know, our failures can sometimes be a tough thing to accept. The things that we don't do well at, that take hard work and positivity to encourage yourself to keep going forward and to pull through, sometimes are just too much. And giving up is just such an easy way to get out of things. Could you imagine a world where if we actually could see what it would be like if our life could be played out without giving up? Where we continue to push forward and see what good that may have come from it? Well, we don't have to do that. Because today is a new day. It's a new beginning. We have an opportunity to live life knowing that as long as we try our hardest, we can do anything. So giving up is something that should not even be in our vocabulary. It should never be something that we physically do because it's not the answer. Just like being mean and rude and avoiding the people that need help, that's not an option. What is an option is the ability to believe in ourselves. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you haven't done that yet, stop what you're doing. Just move that mouse or your fingertip down to where that subscribe link is and just hit it. Do that so you can be updated with all this content that gets added so you don't miss a podcast. But also check out the KentHolstePodcast.com website as new content is being added, sometimes daily, sometimes every other day. So you don't want to take the chance of missing something before it gets lost in all the other new stuff that gets posted, because there's some good stuff that's on there. So make sure you do that. But most importantly, don't forget the importance of this topic. For a lot of us, it's too hard for us to think and push through certain situations that happen in our life. But that's why you need people in your life that can motivate you, that can encourage you to not give up. So take the proper steps. I gave you, 3 or 4 keynotes as to what you can do to help yourself not get into that give up mode in your mind. If there's something that I missed, put that in the comment spot and join in the conversation and help make a difference in somebody's life. If you are on here to be destructive, this isn't the place for you. If you are listening because you want to learn and you want to become better in your life and you want to help others and encourage others and to be that motivation, then this is the place for you. This is the place for you to join the community, to be that person that is willing to get out of that comfort zone and talk about things that may not be comfortable, but it all is for a good purpose. You think it was easy for me to talk about a lot of the things I did about my past? No, it wasn't. But if it benefits somebody else's life who can relate and who can understand what it's like to go through that and how difficult it is to not give up, to not give in, then this is not doing its job if people aren't getting that point. But if you are and you're going, oh man, I needed to hear this topic today. I needed that extra push, that motivation so I can push forward despite what I'm going through. That's a good thing. So do that today. Get involved. Let's make this place, this community, this world better by doing what we can to not give up, not just on ourselves, but on other people. We're giving up on people way too fast. We're giving up on the people who need that sense of there's someone there. There's someone there that cares. You know, just imagine what it would be like if you were poor and you had nowhere to go and you were living on the street and someone sees you laying down somewhere that's unpleasant, like under a bridge or an alleyway, and they give you food. They give you a blanket. They give you a clean shirt. They give you shoes. How would that make you feel? Would that make you motivated to move forward? Absolutely. But there's so many people who choose to avoid it. There's so many people who choose to give up on other people just because they're not living the lifestyle that they live, that they want to live. We can't do that. We can't push people away. We can't give up on people just because of the way they talk, the way that they live, because that's not fair. That's not right. That's not why we're here on this earth. We're here to be there for each other, to live a positive life. So think and be positive today about your drive, your success, so you don't give up hope. Do what you can, not what you can't, to generate new opportunities, new ideas, a new lifestyle, so you can move forward. And most of all, I believe in you. I believe in you that you can be successful, that you can move forward on difficult things and make good out of your life. Don't you think you should too? And if you see someone who served our country, whether it be military, police, healthcare workers, take the few seconds it takes to give them an elbow, tell them how much you appreciate them. You never know how much they might appreciate that. It's all about kindness. So live that today. And thank you for listening and clicking that link and getting involved in the conversation and being a part of this community. I hope the next time that we talk, maybe you'll have a different outlook and start living a life that you can look back on, knowing that you did the best that you could to not give up hope. Thank you for listening, and God bless.